right. The election polls were bad again this year, and really they've been bad for over 20 years now. And the good news is that I believe there is something that you and I can do about it. And this video, it's intended to be an apolitical video, so hopefully you find this video beneficial no matter who you voted for or who you are going to vote for in the future. This video is about the presidential election polling and to recap how bad it's been, what they claim the problem is, but I'll explain later that I believe that they're wrong with their explanations, and what I believe that we can actually do about it. But let's start with a short clip from Jon Stewart on The Daily Show to capture just the frustration that we've had with polling.
I do want to very quickly send a quick message to all the pollsters, the election pollsters. Blow me. I don't ever want to from you again, ever. I don't ever want to hear, we've corrected for the overcorrection of the voters. You don't know about, and I don't care for you.
Okay, so the poll numbers right before each presidential election have been wildly off for over 20 years now. The pollsters claim that because people use cell phones now, it's harder to get a good sample for their polling based on who answers their cell phone. And online surveys haven't produced accurate results either. I used to believe that. I believed that until this year's election. I believed that there was no way to get accurate polling anymore. But since we need something to base where the election stands during the election season, we just need to accept that the polling numbers are off. This year, like most election years, I followed 538, and 538, to the best of my knowledge, they don't do any polling themselves. They take what they consider the most historically accurate polls and average them together to show you what they hope to be a clear picture of the election poll numbers. I started seeing YouTube videos, though, that the vast number of polls that showed Harris in the lead were wrong, and that if you looked at those polls' history, that they were inaccurate in 2016 and 2020. And so we're going to recap the election from 2016 and 2020 really quick. As you can see, 2016, Clinton versus Trump, 538 had Clinton ahead by 3.9%. The actual result was Clinton winning the popular vote by 2.1%. And so being off by 1.8% doesn't sound like a lot, but had Hillary won the popular vote by 3.9, she probably would have won the election. There were rumors that her campaign had taken the foot off the gas pedal because they thought she was so far ahead. But I'm just expressing my opinion here. And then as we look at 2020, Biden versus Trump, 538, they had Biden ahead by 8.4. The actual result was Biden winning the popular vote by 4.5. Now, the problem with these two elections is that because they got the winner of the popular vote right, most people didn't seem to care how inaccurate the polling numbers were. But here's the thing. Atlas Intel's last poll right before the election day in 2020 was almost perfect. It was 4.7. They were the most accurate pollster of 2020. Now, as we look back at the election of 2024, 538 had Harris ahead for almost the entire election right up to Election Day. Here's a screenshot from their website. But Atlas Intel, and I had never heard of them until this year, they had Trump ahead for the entire election period. And so here's the screenshot from a PDF I downloaded from their website. And I'm going to put them both on the same screen in a second, and so you can compare them in the same screen. But for me, I started getting kind of more excited on finding out which polls were right more than I was about the actual election. So Here we see the results from 2024, and 538 had Harris ahead by 1.2%. The actual result was Trump winning the popular vote by 1.5%, and Atlas Intel had Trump ahead by 1.2%. Here's a screenshot of 538 and Atlas Intel together, and it's amazing to me how completely opposite they are of each other through the months leading up to the election. Atlas Intel is one of the polls 538 includes in their polls, but they get averaged with the bad polls, and so that's why it doesn't seem to have much effect in 538's polling, in their polling numbers. Okay, so what should we do? I believe we should have confidence in Atlas Intel's polling and communicate to these other pollsters in some way that just we're not interested in their polling data until they can build a track record of being more accurate. I believe that we need to demand that of them, and that because we have Atlas Intel producing accurate numbers, we don't really need them. And that might seem harsh, but I think the frustration as shown in the Jon Stewart video is real. Now, what if Atlas Intel gets it wrong in the future? And yeah, that can happen. And if we look at what happened with Ann Selzer this past election, she was considered the best pollster in politics. But Ann had a poll right before the election, over the weekend before the election day, that had Harris ahead by 3% in Iowa, and Trump actually won the state by 13.2. And I don't bring her up to pile on her mistake. I'm just using that example that how a historically accurate pollster can get it wrong. But I'm confident in Atlas Intel's polling until they get it wrong. And just to be clear, I do not work for Atlas Intel. I've had no association with them. As of this date, I've never had any contact with them. I've never received anything from them to produce this video. I was just impressed with how accurate they were in the last presidential elections, in the last two presidential election cycles. And I want to spread the word that there is an accurate pollster out there. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in 2028.